Hi, I'm Brandon Leibowitz of SEO Optimizers, and we're talking about what SEO strategies work in 2022. And you're listening to the Brand Journalism Advantage.
Episode 441.
The Brand Journalism Advantage, the podcast that teaches the power of storytelling to increase business by attracting, engaging, and influencing consumers. Now, it's time to think like a journalist with your host, brand journalist Phoebe Changchua.
Hello, brand journalism community. I'm Phoebe Changchua. Thanks for tuning in to the Brand Journalism Advantage podcast. Here we go with the inside scoop on today's show, Brandon Leibowitz. Brandon runs and operates SEO Optimizers, and he's been doing that since 2007. They're a digital marketing company that focuses on helping small and medium-sized businesses get more online traffic, which in turn, you guessed it, converts into clients, sales, leads, whatever, right? Whatever you want to sell online, it makes a difference if you have that SEO traffic. Welcome, Brandon. How are you?
I'm doing well. Thanks for having me on today.
Yeah, I'm glad to have you on. So I'm really excited to talk to you because I had taken a bit of a hiatus with the Brand Journalism Advantage podcast. I have about 400 plus episodes and really got, during COVID and all the different things, got swamped with, believe it or not, work because of the online presence that I had built myself. And so I had a lot of people who were asking for help during that time with COVID and how to keep their brand alive. And you know what they were doing? They were writing content and they were using, webinars and Zoom like we're doing here. So back in the old days, I used to use Skype to record. I then switched over to Zoom and started teaching in that. So Brandon, did you see a big shift? I mean, what did you see? Let's roll back just a little bit because of course there's still COVID, but things have changed a lot. So what did you see during that time?
Yeah, no, definitely saw a big change. So I mainly do SEO. And unfortunately, had to lose a lot of clients because a lot of them are local businesses that just had to completely shut down. And some of them, unfortunately, haven't reopened, but it did change a lot. It just shifted. And then also made people realize that who relied on traditional like brick and mortar, that it's not the same anymore. And about like 8 months into like 2020, maybe like August, September-ish, people started to realize I need to figure out this online thing because if not, I don't know when this pandemic is going to end, if it's going to keep going, or even in general, if it does end, I still need to have that presence online because it's changed how people shop and behave, and everything has really shifted to being more comfortable buying online or doing whatever online, ordering groceries, like everything is all digitalized now. So making sure that they have that presence online has become even more important. So
yeah, well, I mean, clients like I have from, psychotherapy to remodeling to the insurance agency, everybody's found a way to navigate around it. One of my favorite remodelers in San Diego, they're doing, webinars, and really they were able to pack people in a very short period of time when COVID hit because they went from, in person to online and everything shifted. And actually it was even better because, maybe they were able to have 20 people in their physical, center where they would do the seminars, and then through online events, they could have 50, 60, they could have whatever they wanted. So it was really a cool thing to see that happen. But I get how some people, obviously lots of brands struggled, and hopefully we're turning the corner. And that's what this podcast is all about, Brand Journalism Community, is we're talking about SEO. What's changed? Yes, we're making it our way through 2022, but a lot of things have changed, and I want to really dive into it with Brandon and explore what his top tips would be for the rest of the year and moving forward, especially with things like video and webinars and, all the different platforms. But, we kick it off with an icebreaker. And I must admit that I went and Googled you a little bit, not just your professional side, but his icebreaker is that he's an avid skateboarder. Tell me about that. I saw quite a few pictures. I wasn't sure if some or all of them were you, but tell us a little bit about that.
yeah, no, love skateboarding, and that is one of my passions, and grew up skateboarding. And like middle school, found a skateboard. One of my friends introduced me to it and kind of just fell in love with it. And Still to this day, will skateboard a little bit, not as much anymore, but I'll go like up and down, like, because I live kind of close to the beach, so I'll go up and down the boardwalk and just
Yeah.
cruise around. It's a great way to just get out, but not doing as many tricks anymore because I've had a few injuries. But I did create a page on social media for skateboarding. You might have seen that, where
Yeah.
I post other people. So I find like up and coming young amateur skateboarders that aren't getting the publicity that like the pros are, and created that page, and kind of took off. It grew up to like a couple 100,000 followers on social media, or all organically. Facebook has a few hundred, or like 50,000. Twitter,
Wow.
YouTube. It's kind of funny. So, because I love skateboard, I was like, how about I follow my passion and like create something I love? Because I've helped out all these companies over the years, and I'm like, I don't mind doing SEO, but I like skateboarding a little bit more. So, we're gonna see if I can make that into a brand and actually start making the product.
Yeah, I get it. I know I used to be an avid rollerblader, and then I had one pretty bad accident. And I was like, I think I'm done with this. I'm hanging up my rollerblades.
Yeah.
I got that road rash and had to like kind of limp all the way back to the car. It was pretty bad, but
Yeah, it's not fun.
yeah, not too much fun. All right. So, in theme with our podcast, and of course, this episode about SEO, here is the Think Like a Journalist quote that I want you to weigh in on, Brandon. It goes like this: a good SEO professional not only understands the searcher, but the competitive landscape as well. That's Helen Pollett, lead SEO at Arrows Up. What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, no, understanding the competition is probably the most important thing, is because with SEO, you're not trying to beat Google. We don't care about Google. It's algorithm. Algorithms change every single day. There's no way to stay up to date with Google's algorithm. What we care about is who's on that first page of Google, how much SEO have they done, and how can we do more SEO than they are. We don't care about the competition, because sometimes Google might be showing people that are not competitors, or might show a Wikipedia page. But if that's who's on that first page of Google, that is your competition for that keyword, and we got to figure out how to do better SEO than they've done. So definitely 100% agree. You got to understand who's your competition online. Online and offline is different. So when you're thinking about competition, you got to figure out who's on that first page of Google. That's really all that matters.
Yeah. So what would be one success tip or quote that you want to leave with our audience at this point?
Well, I would say study the competition by just going into Google and searching your keywords and see who shows up there, and make note of who shows up consistently, because that's your real competition. Just because they might have ranked once or twice, they might have got lucky, but search for dozens of keywords. Like, keep searching over and over again and look for trends and see who's up there. Like, go through the first 3 pages and kind of just look for who's up there and just make note of them. And then we could go into how to dive in and see what they're doing. Because with SEO, everything's transparent if you know where to look. So you can see everything they're doing.
Awesome. Well, we want you to teach us all that. Before we get there, though, tell us your career highlight. What has been most meaningful to you?
Mm-hmm. I would say being able to quit my job, my full-time job, and focus on this and really grow my business. And it took me some time. It's not immediate. It took about like 10 years of just working full-time and doing this on the side and building it up. But eventually I was able to quit my job a few years ago and really go with this full-time.
Awesome. Isn't that a great feeling? Control your destiny and earn what you want.
It's the best. It takes some time, but it's definitely worthwhile in the end run. So definitely.
Sure. All right. Well, we're going to flip that story. Now I want you to share that moment in time, not a story that is like, oh yeah, I had this failure and I learned this, but a real story, something that we can sink our teeth into, learn from, and go, ooh, that hurt, but you recovered. What's that moment in time when it didn't work?
Well, with SEO, yeah, it's all about just trial and error, because Google updates their algorithm big time, or makes major changes every few months. So every once in a while, we'll trial strategies, and like with content or with backlinks. I'd say with backlinks back in like 2010, 2011, like there was ways to build backlinks when Google wasn't looking at the quality of them. It's just the number of backlinks you have. So just trying to get as many backlinks as possible. And it worked until Google's algorithm changed. I think in 2011, they had their Penguin update, which is still being updated to this day, which is all about backlinks, because too many people have gamed the system with backlinks. So saw the traffic drop down after that algorithm update and try to piece it back together and figure out what was going on, and working through all these backlinks and just trying to remove the bad ones and focus on building good quality backlinks, which quality backlinks nowadays are just websites that are related to you. Finding niche related sites. The more related it is to you, the better off it's going to be.
Yeah. So when that happened, I mean, let's go back to before it wasn't working. Were you like, wow, this is money. This is so easy. All I got to do is link to all these different sites. It's going to feed traffic in and I'm going to be number one all the time. Was that kind of like the attitude?
Kind of, yeah. It was pretty easy back then, or easier. Still wasn't that easy, but yeah, it was definitely much easier and less competition. Now there's so much competition that's really what makes it tougher to nowadays. Back then, not as many people were online, so it's a lot easier to get up to the top pretty quickly.
Yeah. So you had to really pivot when that changed. You had to go, oh, wow, I got to do things differently, always figuring things out, which is the nature of, an entrepreneur, but the nature of this in particular business as well.
Mm-hmm. Yep. It's always adapting and adjusting to whatever Google, or if there's a new search engine in the future that takes over. But for now, Google just dominates the market, but you just have to adjust and adapt and look at what they're looking for and try to just keep everything to what their quality standards are. If you read Google Webmaster Guidelines, they kind of tell you what they're looking for, but you got to take everything with a grain of salt. Google's not really there to help you with SEO. They want you to spend money on ads. That's all they care about is ads. They don't care about.
Exactly. Right. So, all right, on that, let's just jump right in and let's talk about what's new in 2022 and going forward, even though we're approaching the halfway mark at the time of this recording. What do we need to know? Just drill down, give us some top tips, and then I'll come back to you with some questions.
No, I would say video. Like you said at the beginning, video is taking over and Google owns YouTube. So I would try to get some video content out there and start building up a presence on YouTube, because you got to think, like, people's attention spans are so short nowadays. With Instagram, everything is not all in videos, but primarily videos, even though there are pictures, it's not really pictures. And TikTok, all visual content, like everything is really going to videos. So people's attention span, they got to capture people's information or capture their attention quickly. Even on your website, if you have a website with just a ton of content all over it, nobody's going to read it. But if you have a video that explains what your product or service does, that really conveys a message a lot quicker, or it resonates better with people. So I would try to build that up. And also, when you search in Google, videos sometimes appear in Google. Not all the time, but sometimes. And since Google owns YouTube, they're not really going to show any other video platform. They're going to show YouTube probably like 90% of the time. So that's another way to get more traffic or more visibility. And because Google only cares about making money. So if you search on Google and you don't click on an ad, Google doesn't make money. But if there's videos in there and it's a YouTube video and you click on a YouTube video, the first thing that appears, there's always an advertisement. So YouTube is making money, which is really Google making money. And yeah, I would really build that up as much as possible.
So I'm going to jump in right there because I have a question about that. So is there Mum, right, which is able to analyze the videos now? And that's something different from in the past. If you have a video and you put it on your website, do you also recommend having a supplemental blog and also transcribing the video? What are your thoughts there?
Yeah, definitely transcribe it 100%, because Google's getting better, or YouTube's getting better at it, but they're still not 100%. Like if you upload a video onto YouTube, they'll be like, do you want closed caption or subtitles? And they'll do it for you. They'll auto-generate it, but you still have to go in and fix it because it's not perfect.
Right.
So Google really relies on content like text. Images and videos are tough for the search engines to read for now. They're getting much better at it, but still definitely transcribe it. If you could write a blog post about it, that also helps out. Just make sure it's original content. You can't just copy and paste the content from one, like Google feeds off original content. So if you just take that transcript and post it as a blog post, it's not going to have the same effect as if you write something unique along with the transcript. So definitely transcribe it, embed that video. That's going to really help out. Don't just post it, like take the video on YouTube and embed it, and then share the video on all the platforms, like upload to Facebook video, to IGTV, which is Instagram long form video, because Facebook's on the decline, but they don't want to lose that video market, and Facebook owns Instagram. So IGTV is a way to get better engagement too. Like if you're using any of the features on Instagram, like stories, reels, all those ones are going to get a little bit better engagement than just a normal feed post. So, but yeah, definitely cross promote everywhere, share it to like LinkedIn, share it everywhere. The more you can, the better, because you create that video, which takes some time, but it's worth it to use it because that video content is going to be the best.
So when we go back to SEO, what do we need to know about on-page SEO? What do we need to do to our websites today?
There's a lot of pieces to the puzzle with SEO, but some are a lot bigger than others. So like most important thing is content. Content on your website is so vital, like text. Got to have content on any page that you want to rank. If you're like the e-commerce website and you just have a bunch of product pictures, Google can't really read those images yet. They're getting better at it, but all they can really read is the file name and the alt tag, which doesn't give them that much context. So they need content. If you can write about 400 words per page that you want to rank, that really, really will help out. It has to be original content, but the more you put on, the better. Google really feeds off content, but you don't have to do it on every page. You just need to do it on the pages that you want to rank, like contact us page, about us, doesn't matter. It's like your home page. If you're doing if you're service-based businesses, then all your service pages. If you're an e-commerce website and you have 1,000 products, you're gonna be like, I can't write 400 words for each product, but categories, that's really what ranks on Google. Like if you're an e-commerce website, like if you're searching for shoes, like you might search for running shoes. And if you get taken to a page with like one pair of running shoes, that's not a good user experience. You want to get taken to like a category with options to choose from. So categories usually rank higher than like individual products. But adding content, title tag is very important for SEO, but the content really is number one. Like you have to have
talk a little bit more about title tagging. Explain for someone who maybe isn't so familiar with that.
So title tag or page title tag, there's all these different names for it, is essentially when you search in Google, you'll see the blue clickable link in Google. That's an SEO title tag. So you want to make sure that you put keywords in that SEO title tag. Every platform is different. If you're on like WordPress or Shopify or Wix or Squarespace, there's all going to be at different places. I would just go into Google and search for where do I place the SEO title tag for WordPress or for Wix, and we'll tell you where to put it. But essentially, where you put all your keywords that you want to rank for that page. And you only get about 60 characters. So if you're trying to rank for more, it's about 3 to 5 words. So if you're trying to rank for more keywords, you got to create more pages. Because if it's more than that, it really dilutes that relevancy and that page doesn't become the most relevant. You want to really focus on like one or a couple sets of keywords per page. That way it's really, really hyper-focused and hyper-targeted to if someone's searching for that, your page is only about what they're looking for. It doesn't have anything else in there because it's going to distract them and it's going to take away from what they're actually looking for.
And again, the long tail keywords, those still really popular, really make a big difference.
Yep. So when you're doing keywords, you want to focus on keywords that are 2 or more words. Like anything that's like 1 word, it's just so broad. There's no real intent behind it. So you might rank for a keyword that's 1 word. Like I might rank for the word SEO, but what does that mean? They might be searching for like, what is SEO? How do I become an SEO person? Like, where can I learn SEO? I want to hire someone to do SEO. It doesn't mean they're looking for what you're doing. Whereas someone searches for like SEO company Los Angeles, they're looking for what I do. So it's more intent. Less people are going to be searching for it, but the people searching actually want to use your product or service, which means the most. Like you don't just want traffic to get traffic. And also it's a bad user experience. If Google sees that you're ranked number 1 for this keyword and then half the people that come to your website leave immediately, that tells Google maybe you aren't the most relevant and maybe we shouldn't rank you for this keyword and actually drop you down in ranking. So you want to make sure you're going after those targeted long tail buyer intent keywords.
So talk to me about when somebody has a website that is content rich, like with a blog, and maybe they have an article or blog on their website and they're getting a lot of traffic. How frequently should they add to that, update that, or write about something similar that might have another keyword, long tail keyword that they're trying to rank for? Would you add to the page that's constantly performing, or would you create another page?
If the page is already ranking and then you create a new page targeting a similar keyword, as long as it's different, but if it's similar, you might actually cannibalize your results for now you become your own competitor, or Google's like, we don't know which page to rank.
Right.
It comes down to like the running shoes or like 50 pairs of running shoes on your website. Google doesn't know which pair to rank. So they're going to want to show you for like the category page, or they're going to pick one at random. And when Google picks at random, it doesn't always work out. So I would make sure if I would add to the page, that's probably gonna be the better way, or update it. Like if it's like a blog post from 4 or 5 years ago, maybe just update it a little bit, because Google also looks at like, if it's been updated, that comes a little bit more relevant, because sometimes when you're searching in Google, it'll show the date that article was published. And if it's from like 2013, people might not think it's the most accurate, even though it might be still accurate, evergreen content, but 2013 versus 2022, someone's going to want to click on the newer article. So
what do you do about that then? Do you change the date when you update it, or what's the best thing to do? The article's a long time ago, but you're still getting people commenting on it and finding it. what do you do at that point?
So you could put you just put a snippet of text saying last updated, and then you put that date, and Google will actually pull that date instead of the original date. So you could say this article was published on 2013 and was updated in October of 2021. And Google will actually
Put
say
that in the snippet area, or where do you put that?
or wherever the date is on there. It doesn't really matter. Usually it's at the top where the date is, and you can just put last updated right there. And that's a little trick to get Google to recrawl it and reindex it and re-update the data. And you could really just add a word or two, and that's enough for it to be updated. But it's better to really update it, unless it's evergreen content that doesn't really need to be updated, but you just want to make a little change just to show Google that that page has been changed and to come back and reevaluate it.
Okay, what else have you got for us? What else do we need to know for 2022?
Well, backlinks are still the most important part of SEO. Building good quality backlinks, getting other websites to talk about you. Without backlinks, unfortunately, none of that stuff really matters. Like Google's not going to rank a website without backlinks. So you have to get other websites to talk about you. And there are a ton of different ways to build backlinks, but the safest way is probably just blogging on other people's websites. So finding other websites that are similar to what you're doing. Like I'm an SEO company. I'm not going to get other SEO companies to link out to me because we're all direct competitors. So that's going to be tricky. So I could find other websites related to marketing or advertising or business and reach out to them and be like, hey, I was wondering if I could give you a free blog post or somehow build a partnership with that website and in exchange.
Be a guest on a podcast.
That works as well. If you put the podcast on your website and then give a clickable link, but if you're just posting it on YouTube and all that stuff, Google's kind of blocked. Well, Google owns YouTube, but most social media, Google's blocked from. So that doesn't really help out too much. But yeah, there's a ton of different ways to get backlinks. It's all about just kind of getting creative and trying to think outside the box. You could be an event sponsor. Like a lot of times when you go to trade shows, when they had them in the past, if they still do them, you could become a vendor. And usually they'll list all the vendors on the website with the backlink to your website. So there's tons of ways to kind of get creative. Best is really just look at your competitors' backlinks. There's tools like Ahrefs or Moz or SEMrush where you can just throw anyone's website in there and you can see all their backlinks. And one by one, start trying to build them. Like I was saying at the very beginning, try to figure out who your competition is, and use those tools to look at their backlinks, because that's really what ranks websites is those backlinks. Backlinks are number one. I mean, Google's changed a lot how they look at the backlinks, but backlinks still play a big, big part in their outcome. Backlinks and content are like the two most important things. There's a ton of other things that go into SEO, but those two alone are probably 70% of SEO, 80% of SEO is just content and good backlinks.
Yeah. So if there's one mistake that you see repeatedly with your clients or even, on just other people's websites, what is it?
I'd say, well, from an SEO perspective, the backlinks usually could be
lacking,
fixed. Yeah, they're not the best, or they're building low quality ones, or they go on sites like Fiverr to buy backlinks, which Google's going to penalize you for low quality backlinks. Instead of ranking higher, you actually drop down in rankings. But also, a lot of websites just need to test their websites out and make sure they work. Because I get a lot of clients saying like, nobody's buying off my website. And then we check out their shopping cart and it doesn't even work, or their contact form doesn't work. And got to really optimize, because getting traffic is half the battle. Getting that traffic to convert is the other really, really tough part. Like, how do you get people to go to buy off of you? It's so tough. So you got to build that trust up, make it easy for them to use your website, make sure everything works. There's a lot of things that people overlook and don't realize is affecting sales significantly.
I hear you. All right. All great stuff. Thank you so much, Brandon. In the essence of time, I've got this scenario for you. You've been hired to help an ailing company. It's about to financially collapse. Now, its reputation is shot. You have a month, $1,000 budget, a smartphone, and a laptop. How do you begin to turn this company around?
That is tricky. Reputation management is tricky, because then you're ranking 10 websites to push, or 9 websites to push down that negative content. So with that, a lot of it is just creating new content, kind of throwing everything against the wall and seeing what sticks with Google. So it depends what keywords, pulling the negative stuff out there, but I would just create everything. Like usually social media ranks at the top of Google. So I create a Facebook, a Twitter, an Instagram, a LinkedIn, a Pinterest, a YouTube, Dig, Delicious, stuff, like all these social Web 2.0 social networking sites, MySpace, and see what ranks, because you're going to get at least 3 of them that will rank at the top of Google, guaranteed. Social media usually ranks. You never know which one will, but you create all that. And then you also build some websites. So go on whatever, GoDaddy, buy some .info domains for like $2 a year and build a couple websites, and usually a couple of those with exact match URLs. So whatever the keyword is that you want to rank for, buy the .info. It doesn't matter if you have .info, .net, .com, .org. They all rank equally well. So buy the cheaper one and just see which ones rank, because $1,000 is not that much money to really move the needle or get it going. But if you're trying to deal with some reputation and trying to clean up that stuff, it's really, and PR. Press releases usually rank really well. So doing a PR campaign through like PR Web or iNewsWire, which probably would take like half the budget, but press releases usually get to the top. Anything like topical or newsworthy is usually good to get the word out there.
And how about, I haven't heard you mention Google My Business.
Yeah, if you're a local business, then yeah, you definitely want to get on Google Maps. If you're a local business, get on Google My Business, get on Yelp, get on Yellow Pages, get on MapQuest, get on Bing Maps, get on Apple Maps. The more maps you're on, the higher you rank in Google Maps. Okay. Because it's like building backlinks. It's like you can create a page on Google Maps and Google's like, all right, like I can say I'm a dentist in LA, but Google's like, all right, is Brendan really a dentist? We don't want to just send people to this dentist office and find out it doesn't exist. So if I'm on Yelp, I'm on Yellow Pages, I'm on all these other local maps, and then Google's like, okay, maybe you are a dentist. We still don't believe you, but we believe you a little bit more. Like you got to build that trust up. So local is a whole other one, but it's a lot of just getting other directories, getting in like the Chamber of Commerce or the BBB or any of these websites to build that local trust.
And then is there one platform that you would recommend, like a Yext or something like, that manages and kind of sends out, so you're not, I mean, otherwise it's a massive job getting into all these directories and submitting and things like that.
It's a lot of work dealing with that. But the only downside with using something like Yext is if you stop using Yext, they own all those properties. So you pay Yext and you're actually renting them out. They'll create a Yelp for you, for your business, and they'll manage it. But once you stop paying Yext, they're like, actually, this is our Yelp. You're like, well, this is my company. They're like, no, we're going to keep it. So I don't really like Yext. I'd rather do like Moz, or Bright Local is a lot better. Bright Local is much better, but Moz is okay to do it through, but you just have to be careful with Yext. Yext has a big network and they own a lot of these properties. So some of these properties that you want to get in are owned by Yext, but you just have to really understand that you're renting it off Yext. You don't own it, which is not good for a long-term business strategy. You want to own it all, unless you don't mind paying Yext indefinitely. But if you ever want to stop paying Yext, it's like you're doing paid ads. You run ads on Google, you stop paying those ads, you disappear.
Right. It's like building your whole website, if you will, like on an Instagram or a Facebook, and not having your own. Yeah, I get it.
Yeah.
Oh, that's good. I didn't know that about Yext. All right. We've got a rapid fire questions for you. What is one piece of technology, video, multimedia equipment, or app that you just can't live without?
Well, definitely a cell phone. Smartphones make life so much easier, especially now.
Which one do you use?
The iPhone.
All right. I like it. One book, documentary, blog, podcast, or internet channel?
I would say for a book, I was reading like The Power of Now, just being present.
Yeah.
Yeah, that one's a pretty good one, but
excellent book, right? And you can go over to Audible to get a copy of that book if you'd like, if you prefer to listen to it. All right, expert predictions. So when I first started the podcast several years ago, we were much further out on this, and now we are rapidly approaching. So if I continue this show, I'm going to have to change the year. But for now, the year is 2025. What will the world look like, and what is your best advice for businesses to thrive and have a competitive advantage in the marketplace?
Yeah, I would say hopefully that search engines are still around, but with the metaverse and everything that's taken over now, I'm sure that's changed a lot. So we'll have to see if we're all stuck and plugged in and digitalized, because I'm not sure how that's all going to work out, but it seems like that is where we're all going. But for the time being, I would say hopefully search engines still exist and you can market yourself on Google. But if that's all changing and it's a whole new ballpark, I don't even know how that one's going to work out. But definitely now just try to build that presence up online digitally and just take advantage as much as you can, and just don't put all your eggs in one basket. Like you said, like don't just focus on like Facebook or MySpace or Instagram. Like try to be as many places as possible, because you never know what's going to take off or what's going to disappear. And if you just focused all on MySpace, you'll be like, oh, now I'm just kind of out of luck and have to restart rebuilding. But I feel like social is definitely going to keep taking over.
Yeah, I was listening to a podcast earlier today that was talking about the metaverse and all of this, and brands coming in, and you're going to order your pizza and your McDonald's and whatever. I don't know. There was kind of mixed reviews about it. Like people all jumped in as kind of like Second Life, right? Which is still around, but it didn't quite do what we thought it was going to do. And same to like the whole, everybody's going to be using 3D printers. And if something breaks in your house, you're going to print, I mean, some of these things, it's sort of there and could be, but I'm not completely sold. So I think some companies will jump in, and what did I hear about Coca-Cola having a new, did you hear about this? The new flavor that is supposed to taste like pixels or something. I don't even, it's like, I don't get it. We're going too far.
Yeah, I agree.
Take my Coke just the way it is.
Yeah, no pixels in there. That's weird. That is strange. I don't know how it's all going to work out, but
I don't know. It's bizarre. Sometimes I think just the more bizarre it is, the more attention it gets, at least short term. Whether it sticks, who knows? But
builds that hype.
Drinking, what?
It builds up that hype. It gets people talking about them, and it gets some SEO backlinks, and it gets some ranking higher on Google. And
you're right. You're right. All right. One place to wine, dine, or play.
I like going down to the beach or relaxing down there, playing by the beach. That's usually my spot to go and just get away.
Where are you? What area?
In Venice Beach. So
nice.
Go down to like Santa Monica or Venice or Malibu.
Yeah. Cool. All right. And where do we find you? People listening, people watching.
Yeah. So everyone that's watching or listening that tuned in, I'm created a gift for them. So if they go to my website, seooptimizers.com/gift, there's a special gift for everyone. So that's seooptimizers.com/gift. And
all right. And we will also link to that from thinklikeajournalist.com. So you'll be able to read the show notes, I will do a transcript here. So we'll have that too. And thanks for the gift for the community. That will be very helpful. I really appreciate you giving us this download on 2022 and SEO. And I know there's so much more. So maybe we'll do like some sort of tutorial training down the future where we actually dive in. I'd love to. I've been wanting to do that with somebody where we take a website and we kind of go through it and pick out like, this is good, that's not good. I mean, it's just so interesting. There's so much to learn. But Brandon, thanks so much. I really appreciate being on the Brand Journalism Advantage.
Yeah, thanks for having me on.
Hey, brand journalism community, you know that you can find all the valuable information in the show notes. All you have to do is head on over to thinklikeajournalist.com and in the search box, type in episode 441. And this interview and the resources mentioned in this episode will pop right up.
Subscribe to the Brand Journalism Advantage podcast and be the media. Now, go think like a journalist.